Do you ever have fears or doubts when you're trying to design your own indie games? If so, check out this video. So, fears and doubts, they creep in. You're developing your game by yourself. You're sitting at your computer, typing away at the keyboard, and I don't know, you start to wonder, can I do this? Can I make this game? Is this too much? Is this beyond my ability, or is the game too big? Is, the scope too big for me to handle? These are certainly some things that pass through my brain as I'm sitting here trying to design my own games. So in this video, I guess we're going to talk about some of those fears, and hopefully we will talk about some ways to combat them as well. So as I mentioned, I'm making my own indie game right now, and there are days where I have good days and there are days where I have bad days. And what I mean by that is, good days are days where I'm just firing off the ideas. I'm coding, I'm creating the game, and there's no major hiccups, just progress. But then there's days where I can stare at my screen for an hour trying to wrap my mind around what to do next, how to code something, how to fix a bug. Any number of issues can come into my brain. And that's just directly related to, I guess, actually developing the game. There are other fears that I have, such as comparing my game to somebody else's game, or looking at other people's games or other people's progress and comparing it to my own. I can get wrapped up in those sort of negative thoughts of comparison and feeling inadequate, or like I don't have the ability or skill to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. And it doesn't help that I've already abandoned 2 games at least, because I didn't feel like they could be done right now with my abilities, which can be a good or a bad thing. You do need to assess your situation, as I've said in other videos, and take a look at where you are currently. But I'll get to that a little bit more later in this video. So let's talk about that. I don't want to just sit here and focus on the negatives. So kind of back to the idea of questioning your ability. Can I do this? Can I accomplish this task? Can I make this game? Am I good enough? Is it going to be good enough? These are some questions that are going to swirl around in your head, most likely, especially when you're working by yourself, because there's not often anybody there to help encourage and support you. And I do find in life that you don't get much support when you go down these creative endeavors from family and friends sometimes, and it's great when you do. But I find more often than not, people give you weird looks and just kind of wonder if you should be doing something differently. So there's a lot to fight back at when dealing with creative endeavors. And I would just say you just have to keep going forward. You're going to have those doubts, but you need to just keep moving forward. You might not have the ability, to be honest. You might struggle, but the thing is if you keep going forward, I personally believe if you have the drive to do it, you will accomplish it one way or another. If you don't know something, you'll learn it, and it might be tough and it might be difficult. If you have people pushing back against you, you might need to put a pause on some of those relationships in your life while you're doing this, or at least don't really share that part of your life with them if they're not going to be encouraging. You have to protect yourself from doubt and from people that will further push that doubt onto you. Nobody said that it was going to be easy, that's for sure. Most creative endeavors aren't, especially if you're trying to make an income or a living at it. But you have to start somewhere, and I think that's the key thing to remember here. You're starting somewhere. I'll touch on that a little bit more later in the video here when I talk about comparing yourself to others. But first, I want to move on to solving problems, because as you're working by yourself, it's not easy to be able to ask somebody to help you or anything. You may not have anybody in your life that can understand what you're doing, especially when it comes to making video games. So I'm sure we've all run into this problem before. You're coding, you're making your game, you hit a snag, you find a bug, you can't process in your mind how to do the thing you want the game to do. So what do? You sit there and you stare at your computer screen, you rack your brain over how to accomplish this task, how to fix this bug. And I find, and I don't understand why this works, but I find that you need to walk away. You need to walk away from your project for a time. Maybe it's an hour to take a break. Maybe it's, go to bed, go do something relaxing, go play a video game or watch a movie or something. And for some reason, I find that when you come back to your project, all of a sudden, it's like you know how to fix it, or you just see things in a new light. And I don't know, it never ceases to amaze me how often that works out that way. If I sat there and stayed at my desk and stared at my screen for hours and hours, I don't know that I would make any forward progress. Just as an example, the other day, I needed to start a new piece of my game. I kind of had finished something and felt good about it, kind of felt accomplished that I kind of created this one aspect of my game, but now I needed to start a new aspect. I kind of had an idea of how to go about doing it, but I sat there and I stared at my computer and I didn't know how to start. It was later in the day and I could tell my brain was foggy. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to call it for the day. I'm going to relax, put this aside until the next day. And sure enough, the next morning I got up and I just plowed through that code. And I hit some snags along the way, as I often do, but I was able to plow through. So I believe firmly that take breaks. You need to step back from your project sometimes so you can have a fresh look at it. And honestly, another thing, and I've been pushing it a lot on my channel, is AI. I use ChatGPT all the time maybe I'll throw my code in there and ask it, I'm having a problem here. I'm having a bug. Can you look at my code and tell me why that might be happening? And several times ChatGPT can quickly analyze my code and say, oh, here's some syntax problems, or the way that you're calling some method or function or whatever is messed up. And it's a simple fix. And that's another way, that you can get through some things. I would say I was having a conversation with somebody on one of my videos online, and I agreed with them. I would say always try to type the code out yourself if you are working with AI, because it helps cement it into your brain. If you just copy and paste it, it may not sit and become part of you, as it were. So I would really highly suggest that if you're working with AI, you always type the code out, even though it would be really simple to copy and paste. I mean, if it's something that you've done several times, I suppose it's okay to copy and paste. You know it, it's in your head. But generally speaking, if it's something you're learning new, I would not copy and paste it. I would just type it out yourself. It helps you to learn it, I believe. And that's what you want. You want to be able to learn it, so in the future, you don't have to keep figuring it out. And that's why, again, AI is a great tool. It's great for helping you debug your program and find some of those problems. It does help when you have a base knowledge, though, because if you don't, sometimes AI gives you extra things that might throw you off the trail, in a sense. I once had an example, too, where I was using AI to fix a problem, and it had me change all these different things in my code. So I went through and I changed all these things, and all of a sudden my game just wouldn't work. So I undid everything and I started to go line by line, looking through what the AI was trying to get me to do or where they were leading me. And I realized I just needed to add like one line of code in myself. So I did that. So again, this is problem solving. I'm giving you some ideas here. Take a step back. take a step back from your project, take breaks. It will help refresh your mind. There's probably some scientific, medical reasoning for this, but it just works. I don't know why. It just works. And use AI to help get through some of those problems. Sometimes it's gonna work and it's gonna help you. Sometimes it isn't, but it's worth it to start there. And now I'm gonna move on to comparison. Don't compare your games to others. Don't compare your ability to others. You're just starting out, or maybe you're further along and you've been doing this a long time. It doesn't really matter where you are on your journey because everybody's journey is different. And you can certainly look to other people's projects and games as inspiration. That's great. Be inspired, but never compare, because comparison just doesn't get you anywhere. If you think my game isn't going to be as good as that person's game, or, maybe you think I'm not as good as that person, my abilities aren't as good, don't go down that road. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody is along their journey. They're along their path at different points. The key thing is to start and just to keep going, because you will get there. You will get somewhere. For me, I'm making my first game. And I constantly think like, oh, it's not going to be as good as this, or I don't have the ability to do something. And you know what? It might not be as good as some other game I'm comparing it to, or I might not have the ability to do something, but it doesn't mean I should stop. What it means is I should keep pressing on and finish that game. Anybody who creates anything, the first thing that they ever create is never going to be the best thing that they create, unless that's the only thing they create. So keep creating. Get over the hurdle, get over the hump of creating that first thing. I can't wait till I make my first game. Even if it's nothing overly special, I can just say I did it. I finally made that game. I accomplished it. I accomplished that goal. And then you know what? I'm going to make another one because I know I can make one. That's the kind of mentality. And if you're already on your 5th game, 10th game and beyond, great. But just keep going, keep improving, and look back at the things you've done and see the improvements you've made. See how you've grown. And if you don't think you've grown, then ask yourself why that is. And maybe you need to challenge yourself a little bit more. Give yourself a challenge in that, something that will challenge your ability to push yourself a little bit more. And I think that's the key thing there too. Every time you do something, push yourself just a little bit more. So that's kind of where I'm at with fears and doubts. I hope this video helped encourage some of you to keep moving, to keep going forward. I know I need that encouragement also. And it's been great having little conversations with some of you, as this channel is just, it's in its infancy and it's growing. And that's even another thing too. Like, I'm starting this channel. That's a whole separate thing from game design. I can't compare myself to other bigger channels and stuff. I just got to keep doing this, and it will naturally change over time. It'll naturally grow over time. Hopefully it already is growing. I've seen my subscriber counts going up little by little, and it's very incremental right now, but I'm gonna just stick with it. And that's all you can really do. I'm enjoying doing it, and that's kind of what matters. Same thing with game design. I'm enjoying doing it for the most part. As we talked about, there's those fears and doubts or things that creep in, but in the end, I enjoy it. And I hope you do too. And feel free to continue the conversation in the comments. If you have any thoughts or ideas that I didn't mention here, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. And until next time, I wish you all the best and take care. See ya.
Thanks for checking out Neon Dream Games channel. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you can stay up to date on all the latest videos we have to offer. Don't forget to leave a comment to suggest what kind of videos you'd like to see more of in the future. See you in the next video.